It is here! It is finally here! Diablo Immortal is here, both on PC and mobile, with crossplay, cross-progression, but oh my god, the PC version is in beta and it really shows. But we're gonna start talking about the mobile version, because that's the one that's shortest and has the least problems. From my experience with the mobile version at least, it seems to have the least amount of problems. Layout and ability use reminds me a lot about Torchlight Infinite, which is another mobile game that I have played or playing a technical alpha of, or technical playtest, something along those lines. And it's not bad. Works quite well with very little issues. The layout is very mobile friendly. The controllers controlling with the fingers is it's fair. I mean, my phone gets very warm, but other than that, it feels comfortable holding. I'm not much more of a mobile player, but I can certainly see the charm in it. I can point out that my settings on mobile are not on high, so the graphic settings are not representing the top quality of the game. Looks good though, to me, and it works well. The abilities looks very nice, crisp, and so on. I played mostly on PC, but the mobile version seems to have slightly fewer issues, as I said, like freezes, interaction issues, FPS drops, except in cities, of course. Both mobile and PC have a few somewhat of a FPS issue when it comes to getting into the bigger cities like Westmarch, because all other players are there. Yes, this is an MMO in terms of gameplay, but we'll come to that later on. I've also played with a controller on mobile, and it shows that it was a bit of an afterthought, as something seems to be touchscreen locked, or at least difficult to navigate through some menus with a controller. But it's easy enough to switch between the two, so no real issue there, as menu navigating is easier with your fingers, and combat and exploring is somewhat easier with a controller. It feels more natural to holding a controller than using my thumbs and fingers on the screen. I have a 8-bit Do controller, which works very well with my phone. It's Bluetooth connected and works very well. It does take some getting used to, especially the combat. But let's say my Corpse Lance ability, playing as Necromancer, did lock on to the closest enemy, or at least an enemy in my general direction, automatically. I just needed to hold down the button and it targeted the enemy automatically. I could switch enemy or area if I wanted to with the right thumbstick, but well, it automatically targeted, which worked perfectly for me when I played. Not much else to say about the mobile really, so it works well, can't ask for much more. Let's move on. Moving on to PC, and I got a lot more to talk about, because the works well phrase doesn't work as well here. Now, to be fair, they have patched out a few other problems, mainly respawn issues and also issues with a certain dungeon where the lag got so bad that the game practically froze and then suddenly you were at another place entirely. It works now, at least. So far it has worked 2 or 3 times in a row, so I'm confident that it works much better now than previously. But to be fair to the developer, the PC version is in beta stage, and at this point in time it is very early. I would almost call it a alpha stage. We have heavy FPS drops all over, not only in the cities, but sometimes I also get it while roaming the world. Interacting with NPCs and other things not working properly, like can't exit dungeons through the portal, can't open certain doors, can't even interact with NPCs when I want to salvage things at the smith. Crashes are very rare but can occur. My brother, for example, had 2 crashes when he was trying to create a character, which is not good. I had a crash when I tried to start the game. I got the screen popped up like it pops up like half the screen is down in the corner and the other half can't be seen. But when you click on it, because you have tapped start, you click and it pops up in full screen on the computer on my screen. But one time it actually crashed instead of actually showing up in full screen. UI elements and controls are not even remotely adapted for PC, I would say. For example, pressing escape while having a window open removes that window and opens up the menu. That's an interesting one. You wouldn't expect that. I just expected it to just remove the window, have it open, but instead I have to press the X in the corner to close that window properly without having another window pop up. Or in some crafting/upgrading interactions, go back to previous menu. You have to go back to the previous menu, then you can press the cross or X. The PC version is very rough, and no, it's not only the interactions and such. Combat is also very weird, or rather, the mouse cursor area click area is very weird. The field for clicking on some objects and enemies are really big, so at times when I want to move away from enemies, I attack even though my cursor was nowhere near an enemy. And if you're trying to run away from enemies, you can't hover over an enemy because if you hover the mouse cursor over an enemy while running, while holding down left click, you will start attacking. Although if you use right click, this should negate that problem. But after playing Diablo for so long, using the left click to just move around and other similar games to Diablo, this is a habit that is very hard to break, I have to say. I got very frustrated over a puzzle as well. I had to do one of the story quests. I was to light the fire on 9 tall torches. Light one and the neighboring torches are either lit or put out, depending on if they were lit or not. I had a big trouble of actually lighting the torch I wanted because my cursor was far to the top right, but my character went for the bottom left one instead, because the mouse cursor interaction is very weird and needs to be fixed ASAP. It was very frustrating. But as for other controls for PC, they are basically Diablo 3 without the right click and are added for your ultimate ability. Yes, you have an ultimate ability. This ultimate ability is depending on what kind of primary attack you have. So at least there are at least 2 different ultimates. Works very well, these controls, and I got nothing to complain about really. Got some getting used to the controls at first for some reason. I don't know why. I tend to lay my hand wrongly on my keyboard, so that's not the game's fault, that's mine. Graphically, the game looks pretty meh. It's not bad, but not really. It's not special, nothing special. Some part of me actually thinks that Diablo 3 had better graphics than Diablo Immortal. Some of my friends disagree, but that's a totally different area. But I wouldn't throw it down in trash for the graphics, but can't complain really. It doesn't look like a 2022 game if you want to put it that way, or even a 2021 or 2020 game. Maybe a 2020, but not a 2021. Confusing enough. Let's put it this way: it looks like an upscaled mobile graphics, which is basically what it is. So, how is the game overall then? Well, looking past the problems, which can be patched out, no problem. Though I have to say that the game is good actually. Not 100% sold on the MMO aspect, as you can see other players running around everywhere, not only in the cities, but also when you're freely roaming around. This can be somewhat frustrating when doing bounties, because other players are also doing the same bounties, and therefore they are killing the enemies that you want to kill. So playing in a party would be a, well, I would say it's an advantage to playing in a party, so you can run around together. But I am unsure if their kills will count towards you unless you have damaged that enemy that they're killing. But I believe they do. I believe you have to be at least close. I haven't. We didn't do much bounties when I played together with some people, together with some friends. But it feels like the mechanic is more of a gimmick, the MMO mechanic here, and it's not something that actually benefits the game in a big way. Sure, clans and finding groups are nice, but you don't need an MMO system to have that kind of system, to have the clans and finding groups. This can be done by, like Diablo 2 did, like having servers, but then again, a mobile version might not support this as well. It's easy to do for PC possibly, but not for a mobile version. I don't know. I'm not an expert. Might be easier, I don't know, but I'm sure it takes a lot out of a phone, this kind of MMO, like running around in a city, plenty of other players running around at the same time. Plus the crossplay, of course, but I don't know. And the frame drops in cities, I hate it. But is that related to the MMO part? I don't know. The cities are quite big, at least Westmarch is the big main city, and there I get the frame drops. Is this related to the MMO aspect, where there are a lot of other players running around? I don't know. There are a lot of things to load in. Some of the assets, some of the trees and bushes and such, or stones, have not loaded in properly at times when playing on PC for me. But that is not too big of an issue. To me, the game has a good story, but worth pointing out is that I have not finished the story, nor am I at max level yet. But you could say it's a good Diablo story, even if it isn't mentioned in the Book of Cain. There is a Book of Cain, Book of Teriel, and Book of Adria physical books you can buy. I greatly enjoyed all three books, especially the Book of Cain explaining how the world came to and what happened before Diablo 1, what happened after Diablo 1, what happened after Diablo 2, but not Diablo 3, of course, because, well, spoiler alert, Cain dies in Diablo 3. Now, as for this adventure that takes place in Diablo Immortal, it is never mentioned in the Book of Cain because it was made before Diablo Immortal was even announced. So it kind of annoys me how it isn't mentioned. It's like Cain wrote that down in another book, maybe. Maybe he didn't have his main Book of Cain with him, so he wrote that in a separate journal. That is possible, which is fine. But it annoys me just a little bit. But I will probably do a separate video on the end game things, as I haven't experienced much of that yet. But so far there are plenty of things to do. Story, of course, rifts. Rifts are basically like in Diablo 3, but you can also, for the Elder Rifts, you can use crests to modify the game. You have the rare crests and you have the legendary crests. Legendary crests guarantees a legendary gem drop, and legendary or rare crest just and every crest makes it so that the game is slightly different. If you have three crests, the monsters might have more health, more attack speed, and so on. You might gain more movement speed and attack speed, and so forth, so on. It modifies the rifts to either a negative or a positive, or mostly both. There are also raids later on, and you also get to do bounties. Which bounties are very basic. You just click on the bounty you want to do, and it points out towards the objective, and you go there. And if you're in Westmarch, clicking on the bounty will teleport you to that location, or close to that location, or where you need to go, which is very handy. And I've tried raids, and they're pretty basic. We'll talk about that later soon. Then for collectors, there are hidden things like hidden quests and hidden objectives, things to do. There are a whole list of things to do actually in the codex, which you can look at any time. There are so many things to do, and each of these give you points towards the Game Pass, which we will talk about soon. And all of these things reminds me a little bit about Lost Ark, actually. As I said, raids are pretty simple. 8 players, boss with huge health bar, you kill it. And I only died once in the raid, so I could resurrect at my corpse. Not sure what happens if you die twice though, because it said I only had one resurrection, so might mean that you need to be resurrected by another player, which could be difficult to do as you battle a big boss. But yeah, I also joined in the middle of the raid, as I was not there from the start, so that might have helped me from surviving a little bit more. I don't know. I had the gear rating for, or combat score for the raid, but wow. Anyway, PvP Battlegrounds, pretty standard. Played some because I had that as a guide objective. And it's pretty okay. One team pushes forward with a big walking statue, basically. Looks like a statue at least. The other team defends. Not much more to tell about that. You can see in the gameplay here, just shooting at other players didn't feel unbalanced, and working together was a good way to victory. Yeah. Now let's talk quickly about the microtransactions, because I want to do a separate video on this as well. So let's get to the fun stuff. Microtransactions. Yes, the thing we all love to hate. Now this game has microtransactions because yes, it's free to play and it has plenty of microtransactions, unfortunately. Most of these microtransactions evolve around some different currencies that you can buy, like platinum and some kind of orbs that I don't know the name of, actually. These orbs can be used to buy legendary crests that can be used in Elder Rifts that can give you a legendary gem, and legendary gems that you don't want to use can be used to upgrade your current legendary gems. The only other way of getting legendary gems, as far as I know, is the Game Pass, but it has been said that you can find these. Maybe you can find them at a higher level. I'll have to get back on that in a more fully fledged microtransaction video on this. Another thing worth pointing out is that the Game Pass is about $5, which is cheaper than other Game Passes I've seen, which is kind of nice. I bought the Game Pass. I also bought a like $1 chest once or twice, I can't remember. Once, I believe. And the Game Pass, well, it's mostly some few cosmetic items, very few. Most things are crafting material or currencies in the form of, what's it called? Hilts? I can't remember what they're called, but there is a currency there that is used for random things like a Kadala or keyed item, unidentified legendary items or unidentified gems or anything like that. Random things that you can buy from a certain vendor. There's also crafting material in the Game Pass. If you buy the Game Pass, you get some extra things because there's also this free part of the Game Pass that is gives about the same things, also legendary crests and ordinary crests. But if you have bought the Game Pass, you can get more of the legendary crests and some cosmetic items and other things. But there's also some more things that give you certain advantages, not necessarily PvP or PvE advantages, just advantages in overall, like more inventory space, stash space, I believe, and some other things. These range from $10 to $20. There's two different ones. One is 10, one is 20. There's also a bunch of cosmetic items that you can buy, which for the special currencies. So yeah, there is a lot of microtransactions here, but I'm not gonna go into much more detail than this now. So just be just know that there is microtransactions and they can be somewhat invasive because I each day or maybe a few times a day I get these notifications that say this bundle. And if you click escape, the first on the top there you have skills and the shop, of course. Although I don't feel like it's in my face kind of invasive, but it's still there. You also get one free small bundle crate each day. Not much, but well. They do like to give, just so that they seem more giving. Well, anyway, that's been it for me, this video and Diablo Immortal. I've been Sweep92, have a great life, and I hope to see you in future videos. Bye bye!